Did you survive the Cataclysm? Can you survive fresh dangers and discover ancient treasures on your way to the Crown of Command? Hello and welcome to the Bottled Imp, exploring the realms of fantasy. My name is Ken Boyd and today we are taking a look at the Cataclysm expansion for Talisman Revised 4th edition from Fantasy Flight. Now, you may wonder, what exactly is the Cataclysm all about? Well, I'll let you know a little secret. You don't need your base game board for this one. Oh no. Let's find out why. The Cataclysm. What's it all about? Well, I thought we'd start with what's in the box. You do get a lovely rule book, which is lovely and beautifully big and illustrated. And as you can see, it has all the components listed. So let's go through them, shall we? You do get a Cataclysm board. Oh yes. Out goes the old board, in comes a new board. You also get 40 denizen cards, which are these. You get 47 new adventure cards. You also get 10 spell cards, which are those ones there. You get 6 warlock quest cards, which are these. You also get 25 remnant cards, and you get 24 purchase cards. Plus you get 6 new talismans, which are these cards here, and you get 5 new characters. Obviously you get the little minis, which I haven't painted as of yet. I haven't had time. Normally I do paint them to varying standards. And you also get 5 character card sheets to go with those as well. So, how does it play? What you have to do with Talisman, if you don't know, this does require the base game of Talisman. And so the rules are very, very similar, apart from a couple of things. The base game, the board has been removed and replaced by this new one. The theming of it is that the Cataclysm has happened, and this is about 200, maybe a couple of hundred years after the Cataclysm. So civilization is beginning to occur again. Also, all the expansions that have come out for Talisman previously, you can play with in this expansion as well, which is obviously good news. So, what happens with the board? Well, as I say, the board gets replaced, and what you do need to do a few bits of setup to begin with. First of all, you'll be shuffling the new adventure cards into their adventure deck. So if you've got any base game or other expansion adventure cards, you will then shuffle those in to make one uber deck. And you'll do the same for the new spell deck as well. You'll also have a separate purchase deck. I guess you can mix it up, but normally when you get something from the purchase deck, you can look through them, so it's nice to keep them in order. And you have the Warlock quest cards. Again, if you have any of those from previous expansions, you shuffle those in together. These two new decks, you keep them separate, you shuffle them and keep them in their own deck pile. And what you do is, these are the remnant cards, and I'll just show you one here. And with the remnant cards, what you do first of all is you will be placing those on certain spaces on the board, like I've demonstrated here, that have a symbol, and you can see that in the rule book. And what you do is you then just place one per symbol on that space. And as you can see, there might be some that have 2 symbols, this one in particular, and therefore you'll be putting those out. And what the remnant cards do is they are full of ancient treasures. So they've been buried. The theme is that they've been buried deep in the abyss, basically, after the Cataclysm. And these are old ancient artifacts and objects, and maybe a few followers and places that you can discover. Also, what you do is you will find that you have these terrain cards. Now, these little terrain cards, you put them at the side of the board to begin with, and when an effect occurs, it will trigger one of the players to put one of these. It could be at random, so for example, you will shuffle these and take one, or it might specifically say a particular terrain card, so watch out for that. Plus, you do get alternate ending cards, and you get 4 new alternate ending cards. I'm not going to go through all of them, but what I will say about the alternate ending cards is you will decide between you before the game starts if you're going to play with them. If you're not, then the object of the game is to reach the crown of command, which is the middle space here, and then start casting the command spell and killing everybody else off. But you can actually choose an alternate ending card. Now there are some that have a star on them, which are these 2 here, and those are in the corner, the little star. Now what you can do with those is you can shuffle these randomly, and then you will reveal one, and that will be in play from the start of the game, so every player knows what the winning conditions are. That changes the winning conditions. So obviously you will gear up your strategy to meet those conditions. Alternatively, what you can do is you can take any that have got the moon symbol in the corner, and there are some from previous expansions, and you again will shuffle those. Let's pretend these are all moon symboled ones. These are called hidden variants, and what you do is you then shuffle those, and again you will place one but face down because it's hidden, so nobody knows what the end conditions are, which can make for a fun game. So those are the 4 new alternate ending cards. So let's take a look at some of the other cards. Now the denizen cards are these. This pack is all about people that used to have shops and had goods and services to offer, the good fellow adventurers of Talisman. Now for those of them that survived, they're beginning to come back into civilization. So what you will do is when it says you draw a denizen card, that's what you do. You take it from the top and then you resolve the text on it. And I will just read this one. This is the Doctor, and there will be a trait. I'll just show you to the camera there. It says castle or city. And what that means is if your player is in the castle or the city, then that card will stay in the castle or the city. If you're not in those areas, then the card gets discarded after you resolve the text. So for example, this one says heal up to 2 life at the cost of 1 gold each. If you can't do it, nothing happens. If it says any as a trait, then that does stay anywhere. So you can have that at anywhere on the board. If it doesn't have a trait at the top, then that always gets discarded. So those are the denizen cards. Now the remnant cards, they're pretty cool because they start, as I say, there are some that are already on the board, and what you do is you'll be going around, and then when you land on one, they are not adventure cards to begin with, but then you flip them over and you see what it is. And they then become adventure cards for the purposes of special abilities and effects. So for example, this one's the Broken Spire, and this one you actually roll 2 dice to resolve whatever that says on the card. So it's as simple as that. There are spaces on the board that have been obliterated because of the Cataclysm. So for example, the corner spaces, they no longer are what they used to be. Well, the goods and services aren't there. For example, the city, there's nothing to do there. It's all been destroyed. So it says to draw a denizen card. And so, as I say, those are the kind of goods and services that are trying to come back into civilization. Now, you still have the Sentinel if you want to cross the Storm River to go up into the middle region. And the game plays exactly the same as normal. And I'll just quickly mention the terrain cards again. There are different types. So, for example, this one's the Bone Field. And we have also the Monastery. And there are different types of these cards. I'll just read one of them out. The Bonefield says, based on alignment, if you are evil, you gain 1 life. If you are good, you lose 1 life. If you are neutral, you pay 1 gold and you can gain a life. And what these do is, if they come out onto the board, they'll be triggered by something, then that actually obliterates the space. So whatever the instruction on the space says, so this one says draw 1 card, you don't do that. The Bonefield, in this example, takes over. So whatever the Bonefield says, that's what you do. And that is pretty much the expansion, although I'm going to get to the characters. The characters are really cool. We have 5 new characters. we have the arcane Silon. I don't know how you pronounce that one. You have the scavenger. He's all about objects. And you have the Black Knight. It's just a mere flesh wound. And you have the barbarian. And you also have the rather gruesome mutant. And they do come with their corresponding figure, as I said previously. And that is everything. I will just mention also the talismans. They're sort of super talismans because they have special abilities on them as well. The normal talismans, you don't, they're just regular talismans and you need them to cross the Valley of Fire. These ones though have special things, like this one says add 2 to your craft while in the middle or inner regions. So they're pretty cool to get, and again you just shuffle these into the regular talismans as well. What else can I say about it? My thoughts are, I loved it. I thought it was a really good expansion because obviously I don't think anybody anticipated that they would just scrap the old board, not scrap it because you can still play with it, but replace it, you know, as an expansion with a new board. And I really like that idea. They've reset it. So if obviously the game's been around 20, maybe 30 years now, and so, you know, let's change things up again. Let's, you know, put a new board in play. And I love the fact that these denizen cards can roam around, because obviously if you are in the castle or the city, they'll stay, but if they're not, they will disappear. So it adds a bit of fluidity. So you're never sure whether they're going to stay or whether they're going to go. So obviously, if you get a really good one, you want it to stay. If it goes, then it's tough luck. It can be quite brutal. The board is harder, because obviously you can't go to the tavern and get across into the middle region, because the tavern no longer does that. Exactly the same with the city. You can't heal yourself in the chapel, so it does make it harder. I love the characters. The characters are really well done. They're very thematic, and my particular favourite is the scavenger. He is all about objects, and I kind of think that's what the theming is as well, because obviously the Cataclysm, you've got the remnants. It's all about trying to recreate civilization and get artifacts so you can power up quickly to get to the middle of the Crown of Command. I also like the mutant because you can roll to power up your special abilities. So I think they've done a really nice job with this. It's a good mixture of more of the same stuff with the adventure cards and new spells and the new purchase deck. And with the purchase deck, love it, because what they've done is they've put a few magic objects in, plus they've also put in a few trinkets. Now trinkets they don't add to your carrying capacity, which is always handy. So these are kind of uber purchase deck. They're kind of beefier equipment that you can buy for your characters. I love the artwork. It really feels talisman-esque, obviously. So I think they've done a really, really good job. And the fact that you can play with all the expansions as well is fantastic. I definitely recommend the Cataclysm. The Cataclysm from Fantasy Flight is a great expansion for Talisman. We have reviewed pretty much all of the expansions. I think we've only got 2 more to go, so check those out on our channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you have played the Cataclysm, let us know. I had a great fun playing it. In fact, I was turned into a toad about 3 times in one game, which is kind of fun, but kind of not fun. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed that episode. Until the next time, keep it unreal.